Der Drachentöter.
Hallo und willkommen zu einer neuen Episode des Drachentöter Podcasts. Ich bin Mike und werde heute mit Travis Vengroff über D&D, der OGL, seinen Werdegang und seine Hörspielproduktionen reden. Bei 2 dieser Produktionen durfte ich mitwirken. Achtung, dieses Interview ist ein Mix aus Englisch und Deutsch, so please bear in mind that I'm not a native English speaker. But now to the recording. So today we do a mixed recording. We are now in the recording room of Travis Vengroff. Hello Travis.
Hallo, wie geht's?
Mir geht es gut. Du lebst seit kurzem hier mit deiner Frau.
Ja, nur 3 Jahre, so mein Deutsch ist nicht so gut, es tut mir leid. Aber ich habe ein bisschen praktisch jedes Tag, Stück für Stück, besser. Aber meine Arbeit ist immer in Englisch, so ich spreche immer Englisch, jedes Tag, vielleicht 8 Stunden oder mehr.
Wie ich in Amerika war, vor vielen Jahren, war für mich das erste Mal, also es war 2000, war ich nach 48 Stunden so weit drinnen, dass ich nur noch Englisch gesprochen hatte und auch Englisch gedacht hatte und geträumt habe.
Oh mein Gott. Für wie lang?
3 Wochen.
Für 3 Wochen. Ach, ja, ist es nicht das Weg für mich in Deutsch, leider. Es ist mein 3. Jahr, mein ganz whole life für Deutsch. So, es ist nicht so einfachlich für mich, aber ich bin besser ein bisschen.
Woher kommt ihr ursprünglich?
Wir waren es ist eine Kurzstory. Erst, wir wohnt zusammen in Florida. Ich war ein Florida-Mann für 30 Jahre, leider. Dann, Caitlin hat University in Oxford, so in England. Und wir wohnen da für 6 Monate zusammen und sie war da für ein anderes 4 Monate oder so. Dann sie hat graduated und wir zurück zu Florida, zu Portland, because we escaped Florida. This is important.
Florida so bad?
Ein bisschen. So, wenn man lives in Florida your entire life, ganz Leben, you don't realize the outside can be fun. You think, oh, outside, why would I go there? There's no air conditioning, and there's bugs, and there's snakes, and everything is deadly and dangerous. So,
raping, murdering, and so on.
Yeah, that too. You've got gangs, you've got guns, you've got lots of drugs. So we said, okay, Portland, Oregon, complete opposite side of the country. So how can that be? The opposite corner, andere Seite. So we went to Portland, 3,000 miles away or so. We lived there for 4 years or so, and discovered it was also a bit difficult there. So we left and we were living at Caitlin's parents' house somewhere in the Northeast in Maine, which is the other corner. It's now 3 corners together. We were there for about a year. And then wir war dann für einen Urlaub hier looking for a place. Wir war suchen, welchem Stadt, welchem Land für uns ist am besten. Und die erste war unsere Antwort für hier. So wir sind in Südosten Deutschland, Bayern.
Das extremste Gegenteil, das ihr haben hättet können.
Wenn wir haben unsere Arbeit online war. So we both had day jobs, real jobs, and then we quit those jobs gradually when the podcast got bigger und wir haben Geld gehabt. Das war besser dann Minimum Wage in den US. And once we both transitioned to beides Online-Arbeit und Werk, wir haben gedacht, warum in Portland sehen wir einen Berg so weit? Und warum sind wir okay mit jedes Nacht hören Waffeln und not so nice things? So we didn't feel safe walking to the grocery store. It was truly dangerous for us. And the police wouldn't even call when you called them most of the time. So it was really weird. You hear stories like this and you think, nah, das ist like Wild West Story. Nein, es ist wirklich schade. So wir haben gedacht, okay, was ist besser? Wo ist besser? Let's think better. Und wir sind hier jetzt.
I heard some stories about Philly and Pittsburgh. They are nearly the same.
Ja, leider.
It's really bad, yeah.
Große Stadt da, ja.
You had a day job. Which was it?
I had a few. Originally, I was a call center person, basically. So I didn't like telemarket. I sort of medical subrogation benefits. Es ist ein komplexes System in den US. Wir haben schlecht health insurance, am schlechtsten.
I heard about it, yeah.
So my job was to call people who had been in an accident or been to a hospital and say, well, first, what's your situation? Are you okay? Gesundlich. Dann die nächste Frage ist, okay, how did the accident happen or what was the situation? And I would try and match them up with Versicherungs oder ein donation plan and try and see if there was a way to help them not be in debt for the rest of their life for an accident.
I heard about stuff like if you call an ambulance, you have to pay...
5,000. Instant.
Oh, okay.
Oder mehr.
And if you are getting pregnant?
Super, super teuer. Yeah, not in the US, nee.
So how do Americans get raise children if it's so expensive?
It costs a lot of money, and people have to have a job which has insurance which covers part of it, and then they have to pay for the other part over the next couple of years. Es bezahlt over a long Zeit. So in the US, we have rainy day funds where you have to have $15,000, $20,000 in an account because you could break your foot. And that's normal. So es ist so schade. So meine Arbeit war just helping people try and figure out a way that made life livable again financially. And then the other job, once I was not there anymore, nächste war workforce housing. So I was part of a management team for 5,000 oder 2,500, something in that range was the size of the company. Apartments. So we would basically try and help people live in these apartments, and keep the rent nicht so hoch, nicht so groß, so cheap, affordable, not flashy. So it's not going to be the best when they say, oh, I want granite countertop. Nein. Oh, I want this amazing Wi-Fi system. Nee. Aber es ist sicher, es ist leise. Und das war unsere Arbeit für das. Und pretty rough areas in Orlando und Tennessee. Und auch Sarasota, Bradenton, wo ich war, gewohnt in der Zeit.
Wow. And then you got D&D.
Then I got into D&D. I've been doing D&D forever, but then I started recording it.
Yeah.
So recording these things. And also Hörspiele mit meiner Frau. We were dating at the time when we started. And then a few years in, people really liked our stories. And it was more popular than anything I was ever able to do and reach more people ever. And her stories are great. And my ability to work with sound, Tontekingenial, ist so lala, or gut genug. And I think between us, we were able to accomplish a lot.
Are the first stories online?
Immer, ja. So, die erste war ein Hörspieler Liberty. So, ich hatte einen Comic gemacht und gehabt. But it's really tough to sell comics. Es ist nicht so einfach. You go to a convention, ein Comic-Con in den US, und vielleicht 20.000 oder 50.000 Leute sind da und du hast einen Tisch. And you sit at your table and you say, bitte, just look at my book. And you are one of 200 anderes vendors in Laden in dieser Platz. So I had one of the highest records for sales. I sold 400 copies of one book in a weekend. A graphic novel at full price, no markup, no markdown, and I was still not really breaking even with selling the best, or what I thought was the best, and probably is pretty high up there. Es ist nicht so einfach. So wir haben, okay, comics, they cost a lot. Kunst, words. What if we just did an audio version? Okay, I can be half the voices, you can be the other half. Aber wir haben people we knew, Kollegen, Bitte, können wir borrow your voice? So we recorded with one microphone. We brought it to their houses or they came to us. And then we recorded everyone in the closet. And we were able to make it sound pretty okay. Und in einem Monat haben wir mehr listeners, dann wir haben Comics gesold. So, es war interessant. Sehr interessant.
Which time?
Da 8 oder 9 Jahren passt. Es war like die erste. So, what year is it now? 2014? 2024?
16?
Ja,
17?
16, ja. 2016 oder so. Und we joined a network because we thought man braucht a network for people to find your show. We were bigger than the network within 3 months. And then the entire other shows in the network zusammen war nicht unsere. And es war like komisch. Like, I guess we're doing good. So we struck out on our own and we did our best.
But the network is all over the American continent?
Dieser ein war ein kleiner ein called Nerdy Show. Es war in Florida and it's just mostly Orlando-based creators. And they had a lot of shows. They had, I think, 20 or so. And they did some good for us initially. They explained how to podcast, because I did not know. Es war a super mystery for uns. Wir haben like Nightgale gehört. Aber yeah, it just, we took it more seriously than some of the other shows, with release schedule that was consistent. Und Fiction ist ein bisschen einfacher than Talking Heads.
So you evolved over the time.
Ja, Caitlin hatte eine Idee für ein anderes Story, The White Vault. And
I remember something about this.
this was, ich denke, 2018. So this story came out and wir haben gedacht, okay, Liberty war super, super groß für uns. So many listeners, thousands of people. We thought there was going to be 20, but we have thousands. So warum? The White Vault came out and it was 20,000 in the ersten Monat. So we were like, was? Das ist nicht, it's not real. So it was. And very quickly, the popularity of the show doubled and more. And this success, we made a Patreon. So we had a subscriber base that has allowed us to look at it and said, okay, when we release an episode, we make the equivalent of minimum wage in Bangladesh. Or we'd look at a different country and, the smallest minimum wage you could possibly earn in a country. And we went from Bangladesh up and up and up and up until after it exceeded the income we were making. Because neither one of us was getting paid very much and we live very frugally. So we were able to, within about 2 years from the White Vault, get Caitlin off of her job. And then it's right at COVID, I quit. And then I became full-time. And then COVID sort of exploded. A lot of shows grew in popularity and income grew. And then immediately after, it all went away. So we're kind of sort of back, not quite, to pre-COVID numbers. So we're not making a lot of money, but we are enjoying what we do. And we love what we get to do, which is tell stories.
Auf meinem Podcast, die Downloadzahlen vor Covid, während Covid, nach Covid decken sich mit deinen Ergebnissen komplett. Und es geht jetzt wieder komplett drauf.
Well, ein anderes Antwort ist auch, Apple haben diese App neu Update gemacht. So it no longer auto-downloads as of 2023 November. So das war die Tag. So it no longer auto-downloads, and I think a lot of shows lost 30% of Apple listeners because of this. Because it wasn't actually listeners, the phone would just auto-download it. So that's one thing. But the COVID thing is wirklich schlecht for viele creators like uns.
But how did you get Jeff Goldblum?
I asked him. So you've heard Dark Dice?
Yeah, sure.
So season 1 of Dark Dice, es war, The White Vault had a live show gehabt und wir haben gedacht, okay, what if these people are really weird? We should play an icebreaker of some sort and meet these people before meeting them for the live show. Because if they're really weird, maybe we don't want to do a live show with them and stay in an apartment with them, Airbnb. So wir haben, okay, D&D, das ist ein Icebreaker. So we recorded it. und das macht viel Spaß. So that was Dark Dice. It was supposed to be just a bonus episode, aber the timing of the release was around when my father was passing away, and it was a very slow and painful process, so I needed something to do, and it was a very good distraction. So I overproduced this show. I put everything I could into it, and it was good enough that when I emailed Jeff, his agents, because you don't email him directly, you say, okay, sure. Bitte. Pass this to Jeff, bitte. It was a character sheet. It was some dice. It was a picture of what art of his character that's the announcement used. Hast du Lust für das? Die Antwort war immer nicht, nein. So it just kept going up and up. And then at one point, one of his agents did say no, but he vetoed it because he thought it sounded fun. So that was when we were living in Maine, in Caitlin's parents' house. And my studio, da war the closet. In America, we have these walk-in closets where you step inside. And it was an attic, and it was where all the clothes are hung, because it's very quiet, super leise da. They let me out to record with Jeff that day. So I got to be in one of the offices downstairs. It was quite nice. And he was very friendly, and it viel Spaß gemacht.
Yeah, fine. And now your stories are, your wife is writing them, you're cutting them.
Yeah.
Which are the actual shows, or can you give some of an explanation what is going on in the separate shows?
So it's very similar to what we started with. She's always written them, and I've always done everything else except acting. And then once it's done, she does the advertising. That's sort of our division of labor. So visual, sie. Audio, mich. Schreiben, sie auch. And then Dark Dice is, now we co-DM, so beides schreiben zusammen these adventures. The shows we have that are all of our shows, real quick. We have Liberty, which is sometimes active. It's a series of schrecklich stories, sci-fi and nature. And the main series we release stuff for is called Tales from the Tower. So Black Mirror gedacht. Like, das ist wirklich, was wir machen. Und they're not all connected, but sometimes they are. It's lovely and spooky. The Liberty Podcast. Anderes, nächste ist The White Vault. Jetzt haben wir Staffel 2 vom Goshawk. People get stuck in the Arctic. They discover they're not alone. There's terrible, spooky things. It's everyone's favorite show that we make. Goshawk is a sequel series. So 10 Jahren noch, Ende Weiß Vault, Staffel 5, haben wir ein komplett neu and the idea with this one is it's two stories, which are connected in some way, but we can't quite reveal just yet. One woman who's Icelandic, her daughter has been in an accident, which is the first time she's ever had an accident, and it's terrible for this family. The other side of the world, we have, in Maine, these two nature photographers discover two women in the remote wilderness of Aroostook County, Maine, which is a very large Wald. So it's just the wild, and you're not expecting to find people. Auch haben wir Dark Dice, Staffel 2 und 3 zusammen. Both are coming out at the same time. Nummer 2 ist, after failing to save the world, these two lovely zwei Zwerge, suchen to make amends with their families and tie up everything they can before the world does come to an end. Nächste haben wir Staffel 3 is Shores the Silver Thrum. A ship is on its way in the dark north, so kein Sonne. Es ist Winter da drüben und die Sonne ist nicht immer da. So sie haben ein paar Monate mit ohne Sonne und es ist kalt, überkalt, und es ist ein Cult they've just encountered, and they're there to leave offerings, and terrible things are going to happen. Haben wir auch ein neues Series, Don't Mind. Don't Mind ist, jedes Staffel ist ein komplett neue Story. They're individual. The first one is Cruxmont, English Village, small town, big mystery. Die andere ist die Neuen. Das kommt nächste Woche. I was working on this quite a lot. It's called Don't Mind Sealskin Rock. In Kanada haben wir ein Chateau, ich bin ein bisschen französisch. Dieses Chateau hat ein Geheimnis. Und zwei Schwestern und ihren Vater sind da zu repair. They're there to rebuild and repair this old, broken down chateau and see what they can do, unaware of the secrets that await them on Sealskin Rock. Und haben wir auch zwei komplett done shows. Eines The Boar Knight. It's a musical about a boar who's a knight who is trying to stop and find a cure for weremanism. Hat ein Wereman genommed on him. So he's got to find the cure before the full moon. And it's very fun and auch musical. And letzte haben wir Vast Horizon, one woman versus the void of space as she tries to survive when everything around her is destroying itself.
How long is the process of getting the idea and writing it down before you record it?
So wir haben für Dark Dice oder die anderes, because improvised und schreiben ist es nicht.
Schreiben,
okay. Sealskin Rock war sehr schnell. Katrin hat diese Idee gesprochen in Oktober. Es ist März. It's coming out nächste Woche. So, das ist überschnell. Für 10 Folgen, 7 Schauspielern, that's quite a quick time for most companies. We could have done it in a week or a month even, but it was quite intense and required a lot of time. And we were also making the White Vault. We were also making Dark Dice. So that's not the only thing we're doing. And for 2 people, it's a lot. Viel Arbeit. Normalerweise, wir haben ein Outline gemacht von Katrin. Sie mag das. We talk about it for a while. A couple things get changed here and there. And then by the end of it, she creates the scripts. She does about 3000 Wörter jedes Tag von Schreiben. Sie ist.
It's pretty much, yeah.
Our scripts are 5000 Wörter oder so. So that's the math. But then we have other things that we have to do besides just write and create. We have social media, we have sales, a website, submissions for various things. We have to produce it. But wir kann sehr schnell machen diese, aber es ist immer nicht nur ein.
Wahnsinn. And your company is based now in Europe, in Germany, or it's
US?
In US, yeah.
Yeah, we have employees and other stuff. We're very lucky. We have 2 people who work with us who help us keep the company alive. America has this thing where they say you live to work, und Europe work to live.
Mm-hmm.
So Kathleen und ich beides arbeite like 80 Stunden jede Woche. It's a lot. So we hired 2 people on during the COVID thing when money was sort of good briefly. We're like, okay, let's not pay ourselves more. Let's pay other people and work less. Yeah. And we did this, and then we hit the crash. So, but the good news is we do have 2 lovely people we work with who do help us. One helps with editing and sound design, and one helps with admin, because I can spend all day, every day on emails and never get to sleep.
Yeah, sure.
So we just have a lot that we have to do. And transcripts auch. Jedes transcripts.
Magic word.
Ja.
Now you're doing all your stuff in English.
Ja, haben wir in Englisch, ja.
Are there plans for doing it in German, France, as a parallel?
We had talked with a company who specialized in localization. Diese Company war in Französisch, in Frankreich. Und it didn't work out at the time. They purchased one IP or licensed ein. That wasn't from us. And then it took them much too much work because they didn't understand how much work it was. The problem is adapting to a new language is very expensive and time consuming. And we don't have the time because we still need to make our English listeners who are paying us, for the most part, they would not be receiving content.
On the other hand, English is a language which should every listener speak or understand.
It's more likely. Aber Mandarin is am meisten. So if we made shows in Mandarin for China, They have a larger audience, and they have a larger audience that pays for podcasts.
A larger audience than in English?
They pay for podcasts all. So if you have a podcast, you can charge $10 a month. And they'll say, yeah, that has value. Of course we would pay for value. That's the culture. Different, completely different from the US.
Is it China or?
China.
China, especially China. Okay.
And they have different rules. It must go on the app Shamlaya. And Shamlaya has very specific rules of what content can and cannot be because it is government controlled to some extent. You can't say certain things. I don't think we would really break those laws, but some of them are either translated poorly or they're just really weird. Like no reptile noises was one of them. Like, this must be a translation error. We have some reptile sounds. I can change those out, but I don't know. But the problem is we don't speak enough Mandarin to make enough Mandarin content to make that work for us because we wouldn't appreciate it. A lot of Scandinavian Land haben diese neue App, und more people in Scandinavia pay for podcast content than other locations by percentage of listeners. Not every location, but more than the US certainly. So there's a different value, and different markets have different opportunities and downsides. The downside to picking Norwegian or Finnish as our language would be a limited listenership, or Danish or German. Aber haben wir vielleicht eine Idee für einen Deutsch sprechen Hörspieler in the future, or at least bilingual. We'd maybe do it both ways. But I would be less confident for that to be completely in both and more ein Mischling.
Yeah. I remember some American productions where you have the bad Germans inside, they're always speaking their mother tongue. You can do something like this. Without a transcription, something like, I remember the part of the taxi driver. Mm-hmm. And if he was speaking in German or in Austrian slang at this part, it would be a bit interesting. Mm-hmm. And then explaining what he did, or what he was talking about in a friendlier way. Because most of the time, if you say some bad words, normally the guy or will not understand it word for word, but the meaning is still coming to the people.
Yeah, we did that a bit mit Staffel 3 of White Vault. We did it with lots of Spanish. Unfortunately, many audiences, for whatever reason, don't appreciate hearing Spanish, even though there are many different dialects, and it's a beautiful language. And I actually speak a bit of Spanish. But we received quite a bit of negative feedback because it wasn't translated enough. When we do it with Icelandic, we can get away with it. I'm hopeful that the German will have lots of similar, ich denke, where you have maybe a main character who doesn't speak Deutsch and they're hearing it, and then someone's maybe explaining some of it, or they're catching or picking up words. I think that might be a way for us to do it for the story.
Yeah, I think Spanish is a popular language in America.
Yeah.
But not in Europe. Not so much.
It's a popular language for sprechen, aber in media, if it's untranslated, there's a certain degree of offense people will take. I don't want to say racism, but kind of. There's a discrimination against it, and I don't like it, but I have to affirm that it's there. When you put anything on the internet, you will receive negative feedback. Leute haben Probleme mit it's the internet, it's a schlecht. So we get feedback, how dare you have main characters who are women? Or they'll say really mean things about their voices, because that's what they do. But a lot of focus is on just Spanish, even though it's no more or less than was translated with some later seasons. People don't seem to care. They care more because it was Spanish, I think, which is sad. So I'm hopeful that we can get away with it auf Deutsch. Vielleicht.
Yeah, it could be.
But criticism shouldn't always take it to heart. There will always be someone who doesn't like your show, and that's okay. And I'm hopeful, though, back to your earlier question, I don't see us doing multiple shows in both languages. It's too much work. But Spotify is making something that can supposedly translate voices using AI. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. It's probably bad. But if it can do that automatically with podcasts in a way that is useful and keeps the original voices, I don't know how I feel about it, but I'm curious to see how that evolves because it might not be our choice. They might just push a button without our consent. The last year, we spent a lot of time, so viele Wochen, schreiben transcripts for the stories we make because we have deaf listeners, people who can't hear so good or people who can't hear entirely. Total Probleme für ihn. Then Apple released free transcripts. Like they automatically transcribe your episodes as of the last 2 months. The new thing just came out, iOS update. Every podcast will now have auto transcripts and you can fix them if there's slight problems. And it's very good. It even got Icelandic characters correct with Icelandic names. I was very impressed. There were a few things that got wrong, but mostly it's right enough where you as a listener will understand what's happening.
With the default player?
Default player, Apple Podcast. But this is the thing they do, which I spent a lot of time. So if we spend a lot of time translating our shows, it's so much money and it's so many hours, I won't be making new stories. And perhaps technology will find a way around it in some capacity is my concern.
And if it's on Creative Commons, they can do this within your consent.
Yeah.
And your podcast, your audio dramas aren't common Creative Commons or something like this, yeah?
Nein, we own all rights. You have the option to Creative Commons or not when you release content. So wir immer sagen, nein, bitte. Es ist unsere. Otherwise, we have no job because our job is entertaining people.
On the other hand, do you have plans to release your audio dramas as written books?
It would be work again.
Because the script is here.
Aber adaptation ist wichtig und teuer und Zeit. So to adapt The White Vault, let's say season 1, Staffel 1. You're talking about 3 Monat Arbeit because there's no descriptions, visual. And the format doesn't translate perfectly zu Buch. So we're spending 3 months of Caitlin's time plus an editor to make a book, which we have to sell physically or digitally on a store through a distributor, which we don't have. So it's barriers to getting there. It could be done. Aber warum? When we could just make another podcast and probably make more money making a new podcast. Because we have an active fan base of listeners who are supporting us to make audio content. So I would say our incentive is not there to switch from what we like doing and what we're good at to try and do something new.
What is the plan for the next 5 to 10 years?
A release every 2 weeks. Jedes 2 Wochen. Ich weiß, welchem Story ist for probably the next 3. So wir haben White Vault, wir haben Don't Mind, wir haben Dark Dice. And das ist most of it. That's my job. For jedes 2 Wochen ein neues Folge. That's 2026, 2027. Total. That's it. Right there.
And you have time enough to play D&D?
That's Dark Dice. We play D&D for our show. We record it. Das ist unsere Arbeit. So we turn that into content. Nicht so oft, leider. But perhaps one day. Vielleicht. Mit gleich. Hopefully.
Yeah, because this is a big hobby for you. And also the daily job.
Yeah, beides zusammen. So it's hard to say like, oh, I should stop working. It's 8 p.m. It's just like, it's 20 Uhr. Maybe I should have dinner, Abendessen oder schlafen oder so. Oder engage other hobbies. We're currently recording in ein Studio mit viele Akkordeonen that I don't get to play very often because I'm always working on Arbeit. So yeah, leider, it's very fun, but it is almost all of my time.
And did you enjoy hiking?
Yeah, viele. We try to. There's a large dog in the room, and we usually take him on spazieren gehen. I can't say the words so well, or he will activate and wake up. Schlaft jetzt. But he enjoys it, and we take him out ein paar jedes Tag und jedes Wochenende lang ein. Yeah, but like that's It's the work, it is the life, it is the way. If I told you I could give you your salary to continue doing your hobby, or you can not get paid and make a book, that's the dilemma we look at. So it's like, warum? So for the next 5 years, we have the stories that we want to tell, we know. Katrin she's explained them to me quite well, so I'm excited for them. And I know what's coming. But yeah, that is the next 5 years. And that's every 2 weeks. So I know exactly, Stück für Stück, wo wir sind und was ist nächste. We do have a few secrets and surprises in the way, but it's mostly what I've stated.
So no children?
Keine Ahnung. Bisschen die Stunden, ich weiß es nicht, ja.
Yeah, because children are...
Das ist Zeit.
This is a small children. It's a small child.
Das ist ISO.
Why ISO?
ISO süß. ISO süß, ISO klug. Und ISO ist auch ein Wörter vom Mass Effect. Es ist Element Zero auf Englisch. EZO. ZO.
Okay.
Element Zero. And then when you see it,
I played it a few times, about 5 or 6 times through, with all DLCs.
Ja. Actually, Commander Shepard, Mark Meir, ist die Schauspieler auf Englisch. And he's in Don't Mind. Then we just worked with him, actually. It's very fun.
Cool.
But we do get to play D&D. Most of the time it's with D&D in a castle. We are professional, das ist unsere Arbeit. Wir Game Meister für D&D in a castle. Ein paar jedes Tag. And then occasionally in die Nähe, wo wir wohnen, hoffentlich einen Tag haben wir ein D&D-Group, aber mein Deutsch ist nicht am besten, ist nicht gut genug und Englisch ist nicht so oft gesprochen hier, so.
No students?
Nicht in die Nähe von hier. I don't say we're here specifically, I try to avoid, because it's a small town, but we're always trying to find who could play, but then also like lokal und einfach und people we like, so zusammen.
Yeah, that's true.
And internet, every time we're in front of a computer, es ist Arbeit. Like, so if we did do an online game, it's jetzt Arbeit. That's exactly what it is. It's not relaxed for us because we're always in front of a screen working. So, hoffentlich das ist ein kind of Ja-Antwort für das.
So when you play the Baldur's Gate 3, then it's for research?
Oh, genau. Videospielen sind immer Spaß und that's one of the few things we do get to do because es ist like die Zwischenzeit. So 15 Minuten, 20 Minuten, eine halbe Stunde, eine Stunde. You can sneak in some video gaming time. You can't quite sneak in D&D time with a bunch of people so easily. We do write adventures. Wir haben viele Buch gemacht für Dungeons and Dragons. Immer schrecklich. Einer. We have Domain of the Nameless God and the True Necromancer class and Shores of the Silver Thrum. And we're kickstarting one of the books as well. So das ist, we do make books, but D&D books sell. They've got a guaranteed base and we've already sold enough copies of that book to...
Did you had some thoughts about the OGL stuff at this time?
Viele. Yeah, we have... So the OGL controversy was very interesting. Es war sehr interessant. Wizards of the Coast had previously threatened us. Not Wizards. Okay. Wizards hat einen Vater. Das Vater-Company ist Hasbro. Hasbro hat eine Tochter. Das ist E1. Entertainment One ist die Name. They made Dungeons and Dragons Film. So wenn wir haben Jeff Goldblum on Dark Dice gehabt. We made the announcement. Their legal team called us. They were very upset. Because we just announced our movie, sie haben gesagt. Und you never told us Jeff Goldblum was going to be part of your Dungeons and Dragons podcast. How dare you call yourself a Dungeons and Dragons podcast? You're not affiliated with us. What is this? Like, do you know there's other shows out there that do this? What? Like, thousands of them. You pay for some of them and you're mein Gott, was ist das? So it was not the funnest of conversations, but during this conversation, it was clearly established intellectual property of English, was wir, what is ours and was ist nicht. And we have only used words that are ours. So we were very close to touching the line of what could be a violation of something, but we never did and never will.
So the reason is you're totally story-focused without all rule sets or something else.
Rules are okay. Rules never matter. What they care about is the property of Mind Flayer, Faerun, Forgotten Realms, proper names. These are the things that they really care about because it's their property, it's the IP, as opposed to rules, which you cannot trademark or copyright. You cannot own the rules. Specifically, the rules. You can say how it's done, but the rules themselves will never be owned. So with these rules, hearing that they were going to change things with the new, what were we using before the open gaming license? They were announcing like a new, here's the changed rules, and they're going to be terrible. And by the way, everything you've ever done belongs to us, and we can do these things. And that was very terrible. They did a 180. So they changed their mind because they saw how bad that would be by closing off their system. And when they did this, we were able to get ownership of our stuff back from the DMs Guild. And then they went to Creative Commons. And that is so wonderful.
Yeah, but I don't think they did this really.
No, it was not their intent.
Yeah.
It was very clear. They included things in there that should not have been.
Yeah. And on the other hand, a few weeks ago, I was surprised that Foundry VTT now has the ability to include the original D&D source books and rule books.
You're not supposed to.
No, they have the license for it.
Oh, they licensed it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
But yes, you can pay for a license for that, but that's it's not easy.
Yeah, I was a bit wondering because on the other hand, you have the OGL rules. You can.
Yep.
They did it well, and on the other hand, they said now you can buy from us the original books, which you have also in D&D Beyond and so on.
Yeah.
But this is a separate company, so you have to relicense it, so rebuy it for your use.
Genauso, and I think that also makes sense. It's profitable for them. But it was very clear they didn't want to do OGL. And wenn das passiert, I think it was good for everyone.
Yeah, but on the first hand, they want to have all the rights on all their property.
Oh, yeah.
And there is only one virtual tabletop. All the others do not exist because D&T players have to play this own-made, which is now in beta since 1 or 2 years, which is on the Unreal 5 engine and so on.
Well, we've used Roll20.
Yeah, but
they're not the best, but they
Roll20 is what we name as this digital experience, playground experience,
virtual tabletop.
Yeah, their own stuff. They have D&D Beyond, and then they did some videos about playing on the table. Every person has his own notebook or laptop in front of him or her, and they're doing the digital playground experience from Dungeons and Dragons originally, and there is nothing else. You can't play it without the original. This was the marketing about as the OGL started.
Yes, but it's changed. Now it's completely changed. Total. It's not that way. You've got other VTTs and other apps. Das man kann bezahlen oder finden. So
they opened it.
I don't know if they opened it or people just said, this doesn't apply to me. That's cool that you say this can't be used, but the law is this. For instance, in music in the US, someone will say, you can't record yourself playing this song, but you can. If you want to record yourself playing any song by Led Zeppelin, you can. And it's called a cover. And when you record your cover and put it on the internet, it's called a mechanic license. And no one can stop you. You can do it. They get a cut of your sales. It's automatic, but they can't stop you. It's just a law. That's how it works. D&D did the same thing. Their legal team doesn't really understand, or the Dungeons and Dragons legal team within that crew, Wizards of the Coast, they're cool. They're good people. I have no problem with them. To my knowledge, right now at this moment, they haven't done anything wrong this week. Yet. Hopefully they don't do the AI thing. But anyway, that's a whole other bag of worms. E1, who's the more litigious side, and Hasbro, who's also quasi-litigious, meaning they sue for small reasons, don't fully understand at times the nature of the laws that they make threats on. So when I got a call from E1 and we had that very heated conversation, I knew everything because I'd researched it and I looked into it because I thought it might happen one day. Because I used to play in a cover band. So knowing these laws of what you can and can't do helped me. I also built my own system, Liberty After. You can play in our Liberty World RPG. Es ist komplett 200 page book you can buy from us. And we don't pay anyone royalties because I made the rules from scratch. Sort of. Based them on OGL content from an SRD from a different document. But it's same thing. So what they claim they can do and what they can legally do are not always the same. And there are a number out there. I've seen my friends used when we did play in Portland in the US and had ein D&D-Spiel Table Tisch gehabt in person. They had some cool stuff, and it wasn't D&D Beyond.
Have you planned to do this live one time or one day?
You mean in person or in front of an audience?
Both.
D&D in a castle, we do. There are talks that we might record some Dark Dice in person because wir wohnen in Europa jetzt. So, das ist eine Idee. Vielleicht in 1 oder 2 Jahren. Das ist vielleicht possible. And we could be thinking of things in that nature. Anderes, in front of people, vielleicht. Aber live events macht nicht so viel Sinn für jedes creator. It makes sense sometimes. It would have to be the right venue, the right audience sort of thing. There was supposed to be an event in Malta, and das war super cool. Und wir denken like, okay, our D&D people will be there. Our cast will already be there for the event. Maybe we can do something vielleicht. That would make sense. But like to fly people out is expensive.
Yeah. The last question. D&D forever, or have you thought about to change the system?
Für Dark Dice oder für Spielen?
For general.
I play many. Ich spiele Vampire 2 Edition, 2nd Edition. I played, unfortunately, GURPS. Es ist ein super komplex Hero System macht Spaß, when you want to play a superhero game. Ein bisschen Pathfinder, aber es ist nicht so gern für mich. Just ein bisschen komplex. And I'm not that much of a rules person. 4th edition D&D, viel Spaß. I made my own system, Liberty After. I've played the Call of Cthulhu, 7e. Das ist auch macht viel Spaß. And Fate, ein oder zwei paar times. So that was quite fun too, manchmal. But for what a recording in a D&D, the audience is different and the audience is there. We had Dark Dice is our second actual play. You've never heard of our first. Vigilance. It's just so obscure, you would never have heard it. Because no one cares, because it's not D&D. We had Ashley Birch. Not da. Yeah, it's not on your phone. He pulls up his phone and shows it to me right now. Nicht on handy. It's in the Liberty podcast feed. And it was our least listened to thing for many years. For many, many years. It had Ashley Birch, again, from Critical Role. Like one of the lead people on the show who plays a character, was playing a lead character on our D&D game before Critical Role.
And before the Apple TV show.
Yeah. This is like 2019 oder so. 2018. So we had Ashley Birch, we had Space Ghost, we had Dave Fennoy, who's a very big voice actor for Walking Dead. many huge voice actors were on this show. And nobody's heard it because das ist die Problem. Es ist nicht D&D. It's a different world when you make a non-D&D podcast. It's like, can you reach 200 listeners? That's really cool. And if you make a D&D podcast, it's can you reach 500?
Yeah, the audience is totally different.
Yes.
How did you get him?
Who? Welchem? Oh, Michael. I was going to say, Michael Grasiga.
That's me, yeah.
You were in this episode too, I think.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, yeah. You're just pointing to your phone with me. And it's like, oh, okay, that's just... I asked. Michael Delgadio is from No Sleep. He's on No Sleep. We're very good friends with No Sleep. Not everyone, because it's hundreds of people at this point. But David Cummings, David Alt, Peter Lewis, Nicole Doolin, Nicole Goodnight. We've worked with many people on No Sleep because we love No Sleep so much. That's one of the reasons we started podcasting. We listen to No Sleep. And Mike Delgadio is one of the main actors all the time on No Sleep. That's how I know him. How do you know Mike Delgadio?
If I'm not wrong, he is one of the first voice actor YouTubers.
This is also true.
Which I've been following for a few years now. Especially for cutting with Reaper, get in hand with some different mics.
He is lovely to work with. I will say I've wanted to work with him for years. Actually, 5 years ago, we asked if we could work with him. The timing wasn't right. And also we didn't have a budget because we had no income. It was still a hobby. So it didn't work out. But I'm glad we approached him again for that role because he did a lovely job on the Wild Vault Goshawk as one of our villains.
He has a really good voice.
Oh, yeah. He's very lovely, very iconic. He's done a bunch of audiobooks too, I believe.
I thought so, yeah.
And you can hear him on those. He's in so much. But Michael Delgadio is a very stand-up and lovely actor. And a lot of the audio drama Hörspiele community, schreib ein email. That's really all it takes. And the more Austrian and German podcasters who do decide to get involved in the space, Hörspiele, D&D, actual play RPG, or just podcasting in general, ich denke, es ist besser because it expands the community, and I think it'll see more growth because people will say, Matt Mercer's on that show. I'll check it out. Ich denke, das klingt cool.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, thank you for your time.
Immer.
And I'm looking forward to do another one with you in the next years.
Yes, we've got some creepy voices for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.